You alluded to this in your cancel culture video. Part of what seems to make this the most frustrating thing, it's not the disagreement, and it's not even that some disagreements are unfair. Even allowing that people are going to swing and a miss, and sometimes people are canceled for dubious reasons. What is so frustrating about it on some level, and what's so dangerous about it, is the permanence of it. So allowing that people sometimes make mistakes and are rightly criticized, it feels like there is a cultural void when it comes to what penance and absolution looks like. So the options are excommunication from society or no consequences whatsoever. Yeah. And there's no one between. So of course people are going to jump to excommunication. Banning, you're canceled forever. Like, you're done. No matter how minor the transgression, no matter how long ago. So I find myself torn all the time because people will say something like, oh, they tweeted that when they were 16. And I'll think, well, when I was 16, I wasn't an asshole, but sure. And I want to
that's just you, Bree, because everyone else was.
But I want to be able to say, maybe I was an a-hole, but like not in that particular way where I was talking about Asian eyes or whatever.
You're doing it in reverse. You're doing it in reverse, Bree, because like you're getting canceled for things you say in your 30s. But if we had Twitter when you were in your teenager, like people would just like go and look. You would get reverse canceled, and because people would look at that, and you're tweeting polite things all the time.
No, of course I'm not above scrutiny, but I want to be able to hold the view that the thing that the person did when they were 16, just because it was that long ago or they were young, to me doesn't absolve them. Like, I think that most 16-year-olds were better than that person still. At the same time, I'm able to hold a view that who they are today shouldn't be defined purely by that tweet. Not just because of the passage of time, but because of other factors. What have they said or done since then? Have they demonstrated a certain level of advocacy for or support of or understanding of the community that was maligned back then? All of these other kinds of things that would go toward a demonstration that they actually have changed, that they actually are different. But what that looks like, what that process is, there's no conversation about it whatsoever in the public sphere. It's either, it was a long time ago, so you shouldn't care. Like the Ralph Northam blackface pictures. I will allow that he might be a very different person than he was in college or law school, whenever that was, doing blackface. And I wrote an article about this for The Intercept a while back. But the fact of passage of time isn't enough. He's a politician. Have his actions on the record, has his statements on the record, has the way that he lived his life for the last 20 or 30 years or whatever demonstrated that he's not the same person who did blackface or not.
Yeah, I've actually had the thought that it'd be better to have something like internet panels of restorative justice.
Yes.
And I know that probably sounds like super dystopian, but I would argue it's way less dystopian than what we currently have. But if people who had, so suppose someone's going through a canceling event. I think we all know what that means at this point, right? Oh, the tweet is trending. We're talking about it, right? If we were able to kind of have, I don't know, like a live stream or something with a peacekeeper or mediator where like the person who is accused is sort of able to sort of, I don't know, face the group of people that's maybe hurt by this and like able to kind of try to understand where each other is coming from. If we can see if this, try to get some sense for if the person who did blackface 20 years ago has actually moved on or not. Do they understand why this is bad? Like, have they done things in the time since that would sort of be the opposite values of that in action? Like, that would honestly be, I don't know. How could such a thing exist?
I like this. It's an online revolutionary tribunal.
Yes.
And, we'll have judges.
Powdered wigs. We got to bring back the powdered wigs.
We can have powdered wigs. We can
do a little camp.
Maybe it's like the three judges are all dressed differently and one has a powdered wig and another is wearing the Mao outfit.
Exactly. Struggle session
outfit. And another is dressed like an American judge. Like a Supreme Court justice, like Sonia Sotomayor, and the accused comes in and like they under no obligation to speak, but they have a representative. They have a cancellation attorney, defense attorney, who is obliged to defend this person irrespective of their individual views. And then, you have a representative, like an appropriate representative from the aggrieved party, who's going to present the opposite case. And we'll have we'll model it off the Anglo-Saxon, the Anglo-American system of justice. Or it could be a more collaborative thing, like the Spanish courts, where it's like not where like the three parties are trying to work together to come to a resolution or figure out the facts.
I love it. I will say I was cast as Sonia Sotomayor in the law school parody play that I was in, which is probably what's going to get me canceled.
Did you wear blackface? What?
Did I wear blackface to play a Latina? No, I just wore a robe. Okay. But it's out there. I was the closest ethnically in the cast, which tells you all you need to know.
So you heard it here first, folks. 15 years ago, Brie was doing race play.
Clarence Thomas was played by a bald white guy, if I recall correctly.
Was he in blackface?
He was not in blackface.
Okay,
he was just naturally bald.
Okay, well, woke culture has truly transformed our universities. I feel like if they were doing that exercise 40 years ago with Thurgood Marshall instead of Clarence Thomas, then it might have been a little different. Based on all the freaking yearbook photos of blackface that politicians keep coming out.
Yeah, apparently it was just the thing to do.